Hi everyone, this is Michael Blank with michaelblank.com. Thanks for tuning in. So in today's video, I want to talk about analyzing a deal from three different perspectives. One is the financials provided by the seller, then your own version of the truth. So those are both basically actual financials. And then the third one is projections. So obviously, oftentimes the seller's numbers tend to be high in the income and low in the expenses. And so you want to look at what the deal looks like to basically replicate what they're asking for. Scenario number two is your version of a truth using some rules of thumb. For example, you know that if the expenses are 35% of income, they're low. Use 50 instead to be a little more conservative. And then there's also the projection. So for example, if the income is very low, it's below market, you know that maybe 3-4 years or so, your income is going to be higher. Versus also the expenses. Let's say the expenses are currently at 55% and you know you get them down to 45. You want to build that into the projections, and maybe you will pay more for a building if it can get to where you want it to get to in a year or so. So we're going to look at that using the Syndicated Deal Analyzer to see how I do that. All right, let's get started. Today, in this video, we want to look at we're going to use the Syndicated Deal Analyzer's side-by-side scenarios tab to give us more insight into what we can pay for a deal. So here's one in Baltimore. There's a 48 unit. The asking price is 2.75, and they're advertising a cap rate of 8.9%. So we'll bring up our trusted Syndicated Deal Analyzer, and we'll go through the financials. Here's our asking price, and we'll enter the financials as they're reported here. Okay, simply into this thing, and sure enough, at least our math is right. We get 8.81 cap rate. Now, one thing we'll notice right away is it's a pretty low vacancy rate, and the expenses are only 38% of the expenses, when we know the rule of thumb is more like 45 to 50%. So the expenses are pretty, are low. So let's click on the Scenarios tab. There's three columns here. One is the seller reported, my version of the truth, and any kind of projections, because we do factor all three in. So if we look at the income based on rent roll, we don't see anything out of the ordinary. We're not exactly sure if that's right yet, but we don't know anything to the contrary. On the expense side, though, we're going to enter in the $150,000 that they have reported, which is only 30%. And so we are replicating their financials. But in the second column, we basically adopt everything on the income side because, well, we don't know anything to the contrary at this moment. But we do we are suspicious of the expenses. So we will manually override that at 45%, and that adjusts the net operating income down quite a bit. So in this analysis here, what I would do, and again, it's being advertised in 8181, I would say, okay, what price do I need to buy this at to basically come in at the cap rate that was being advertised? And I keep decreasing this down to 2.45 until I get to the point where my cap rate is the same as advertised. And so the conversation with the agent basically says, look, you guys advertised an 8.81. That does meet my investment criteria. I appreciate it. It's a good deal. But the expenses are low. And you could go in here and look at the expenses and figure out why it exactly is low. Whatever that may be. You could say, well, real estate taxes are low, or your management fees are not included, whatever the case may be. Based on my experience, expenses are at least 45% of a well-run building, and yours are 38%. So in order to preserve the cap rate of 8.81, the most I can pay for this is $2.45 million. So that's an example of how you use the side-by-side version to basically get back to the agent as quickly as possible with some information about why the asking price does not work. In this case, it's the expenses. So I hope that was helpful. Talk to you later.